I went into this with pretty low expectations because I saw the hate online of people just saying how bad it was and stuff like that.
It's not. I don't know why we got off on a Willem Dafoe tangent. He's not even in this movie, but... Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Cinema A to B. Joined here by my co-host Alec.
Hey everybody.
And I'm Ben. And today we've got The Batman with Pattinson, man. You know, start us off?
Yeah. So I liked it a lot. So especially the first 2/3, or at least the first 3/4, really, really enjoyed it. I know there was a lot of hate on Pattinson, but I think he's absolutely fantastic as an actor. I really liked him in this role. I really liked the take on the Batman because it really went old school. Because, I mean, the Batman is supposed to be the number one detective of all time. Like, I mean, Sherlock Holmes level detective. Mm-hmm. And modern Batman movies, at least, have focused less on that, have focused more on the toys, on the fighting, on his ability to do that. I mean, even Nolan doesn't really focus on his being a detective. Whereas this whole movie, like the first, 2/3, 3/4 of it is him trying to figure out this stuff and being the detective and also balancing the life of being Bruce Wayne and all that stuff. Really, really enjoyed that aspect of it. The latter third or latter quarter gets into a much more predictable action Batman thing, which wasn't bad. You had a couple really nice, pretty shots, but it didn't do anything for me. It wasn't as fun as the first portion of it, because it just felt like, oh, we went back to this is the same kind of Batman stuff that we've seen for years. But really, really enjoyed it. And I didn't get that stupid, like everyone was saying, emo Batman or feeling his feelings. Like, I didn't really get that. So
I think it had more to do with how he looked.
Yeah. As
Wayne, like real pasty and like pale and the dark circles under his eyes, but it was finally believable, right? I mean, this guy's nocturnal, right? And basically sleep deprived. And it's year two on the job. Mm-hmm. I mean, this thing opened really strong. The voiceover, that whole montage is really cool and very moody. I think this nailed the mood of Batman as well as anything we've seen since the 89 film. Because I love the Nolan movies for the most part. I mean, I really like Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, and Rises is just a very hit and miss movie, but none of them ever really hit the tone of what Gotham is. In the Nolan films, Gotham has these pockets that are really bad, but for the average person, until the Joker shows up in Dark Knight, like there are areas of Gotham that are fine. Mm-hmm. That's not the case with this version of Gotham. This is like this reminded me of Tim Burton in the opening of 89 Batman, where like it didn't matter where you were, like the criminal element was everywhere. It was going to find you. And this movie really nailed that. My only complaint kind of is, I've got a few gripes with this movie. I also really enjoyed it. One would be that I think they made it too grounded. Like coming off the Nolan movies, I was like, really? We're going to get another really, really grounded Batman? Like, are you not going to leave the wiggle room for the more fantastical rogues gallery that he comes up against? And I can't tell yet. Like they did, because they didn't offer me anything in this movie that wasn't particularly grounded. Like the villains are all super grounded and Riddler and which I did like the whole take on the Zodiac killer inspired Riddler. That was pretty cool. Now we did mention this off air, and I think it warrants discussion, that our favorite cinematographer Roger Deakins said that he felt like this was the best shot movie from 22. I'm not sure I agree with him, but I do think it was criminal that it wasn't nominated for best cinematography.
Well, especially because it got makeup and hair, visual effects, and sound. I mean,
no, this is a beautifully shot movie. It really is. Maybe it's not as pretty as what people wanted, because it does have a tendency to go kind of golden and brown and stuff. Mm-hmm.
I talk about the last quarter, but that scene where he lights the flare in the water at the end was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, was fantastic. And just looks really good. Like, again, I completely agree with you. This should have at least been nominated, if not won.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty criminal that it wasn't given that opportunity. Yeah, I like Pattinson. Is he as bulked up as he probably should have been? Probably not, but that's not the end all be all. I don't think of casting a Batman movie. And the reason I say that is because my favorite Batman, which is Michael Keaton, is not a physical specimen. He's not.
No,
he's just great. He's great in the suit. His voice is awesome. I don't know. There's something about the intensity in his eyes and stuff. And Pattinson kind of really comes close to channeling that. There was a intimidation fear element that they kind of created with the way they shot it, where he is coming more out of the shadows, way more than even a Nolan movie. Like where he just kind of, I don't know if there's some digital work. Some of that looked kind of, maybe it was a digital effect, but yeah, he just kind of emerges more from the shadows and has that whole tactical look to his suit, which is pretty cool. The whole year 2 thing I really liked. And and their take on the Batmobile is tremendous.
Yeah.
That whole sequence, by the way, the whole chase sequence, the whole car sequence with the Batmobile, it's homaging the last big car chase in Ronin.
I knew you were going to bring it up.
Because in Ronin, there is even a drum beat that kicks
similar,
in at a certain point in the Batmobile chase that kicks in at a key moment in the Ronin chase in Paris. And it's when they go against traffic and start driving against the traffic. I'm telling you, Matt Reeves and his editor, they saw Ronin, which Ronin's the greatest. I know people love Bullet. Ronin's got the best car chases ever put on screen.
I will second that. I agree.
Yeah, there's the cars are cooler in Bullet. No doubt about that. The Charger and the Mustang, but the actual chase work, stunt driving in Ronin, because you get 2 or 3 really great car chases. Yeah. But yeah, the Batman totally, it's heavily inspired by that. And that whole sequence is cool. And that thing fires up. And I saw that thing in Dolby Atmos, and that Batmobile fired up. I was like, everything's rumbling. I was like, this is badass. They nailed it. They nailed it. And he's kind of a crazy man behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Like very unhinged. I think they actually are in a good place that this thing it was well received. It made a ton of money, but I think there's room to grow with whatever a second installment looks like.
Yeah. And I think they could actually go a little more fantastical with the equipment and stuff like that, even though they grounded it in this movie. Like, I don't feel like it'd be a weird transition. I think they just wanted to start possibly small, and then see how this does and then go on. But going back, I think Pattinson does exactly kind of what you said. He gets that inner torture that Keaton does a great job at having in the Tim Burton films. Like, Val Kilmer and George Clooney were definitely more of the playboy Bruce Waynes, where I felt like Michael Keaton's version was definitely much more of the tortured soul who had to play at being kind of the playboy, but really wasn't, that character. And you get a little bit of that with Christian Bale in the Nolan films, but really, I mean, I think it's fantastic with what Pattinson does. I mean, if you would have told me the guy from Harry Potter and Twilight was going to be the next rising star of fantastic films, I would not have believed you. But after seeing him in Tenet and this, it's just he's fantastic. He is really. I'm interested to see where he goes from here. Yeah, and I fortunately had watched his film The Lighthouse before this came out, and so when they cast him, I was like, this guy's got chops. Like, and if anybody's actually, and that's an obscure movie, but if you've seen The Lighthouse, you knew Robert Pattinson could act his butt off opposite Willem Dafoe. Yeah, he more than holds his own, and Willem's as good an actor as there is. I mean, Willem's amongst the all-time great underrated
actors.
100% underrated.
He is like Willem Dafoe is taken for granted.
Yeah,
he's got a much broader range than people give him credit for.
It's just that he's got a weird looking face. That's what it is.
He does have a weird looking face. Yeah. No,
sorry, Willem, if you're watching, I apologize.
Well, he knows this. What's he care? He's amongst the best actors of his generation. He's been around forever. I mean, Platoon and I don't know why we got off on a Willem Dafoe tangent. He's not even in this movie, but maybe they can. Maybe if they don't keep bringing him back as Green Goblin, maybe he could play something in the Batman Rogues Gallery, something very different where they don't have to put a mask on him and they can actually use his weird looking face. But
okay, like I could actually see Willem Dafoe playing an old Joker. Like I know it wouldn't work with the timeline. I mean, like he would,
for sure.
He would be fantastic. I mean, just I think he could really nail it.
Yeah. No, there's good. Yeah, we need to get off the Willem Dafoe tangent. He's pick a movie. No, the performances are really solid in this. I think the other one that I really would single out would be Zoe Kravitz. Mm-hmm. Zoe Kravitz, I think, is solidly number 2 playing Catwoman behind Michelle Pfeiffer, and it's a really different take on the role. She's much less psychologically damaged than the Michelle Pfeiffer version, which I liked. So hopefully she's back because she's really, really good. And then it's so hard to believe even watching it again that's Colin Farrell. Like, I know, it's awesome. Dude's a great actor.
Yes. Like we don't give enough credit either about the stuff that he does.
No, we don't. It's because he achieved so much early success, right? Like he was the it guy so early on in his career. I think he's been much pickier with the roles he takes now, and so he's not really interested in taking the really, really big stuff. But when he shows up, he's just. I mean, obviously, he just got nominated again.
Yeah.
For Banshees, and he's turned into more of a chameleon now that he's older. Because I think he suffered the same issue that Brad Pitt did, which is they're so good looking that they lose. I think there's certain roles they lose out on because it's like you're too good looking to play that part.
Yeah.
Which happens. That happens in Hollywood. There's certain roles that you don't get cast because you're too good looking to be convincing as the down and out guy. Mm-hmm. The guy that's down and out on his luck, because it's like, well, if a guy looked like that, he wouldn't be down and out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Colin Farrell's tremendous. And he'll be back. They're doing some sort of spin-off show with him. With Penguin. I saw they were starting to shoot that. Some sort of limited series trying to bail out
Warner
Brothers.
Be excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, so he'll show up again, I'm sure. But yeah, I think there's room to grow for this, for whatever the Batman 2 is. Even as successful as this was and as well received it is, I think they've got, like, I don't feel like they topped out what is possible. And now, unfortunately, I think they lost. There does seem to be a segment that absolutely hates this movie. Mm-hmm. Like just despises this movie, and there's no convincing them otherwise.
Because I went into this with pretty low expectations because I saw the hate online of people just saying how bad it was and stuff like that.
It's not.
It's not. It's really not. And again, everyone hated Pattinson for Batman, and I was like, no, he's not this emo moody kid. I mean, like, he's moody, but like in the sense of being Batman, of dealing with this, of not getting enough sleep, of being that nocturnal animal when we're not supposed to be. Like it totally works out. Like I'm okay. And going off of what you said of him not being built, like I can understand this in year 2. He's not as built out as he's supposed to be. Like he's still learning like all the stuff that actually he needs to focus on to. You'll
notice though they never put him up against like anybody physically that your brain would be like, oh, they would overpower.
Yeah.
Him. Like, but he's still pretty vulnerable. I mean, he gets the crap kicked out of him as much as any Batman movie I can recall seeing. Now, the reason I haven't like singled out Paul Dano is because Paul Dano just kind of did Paul Dano as Riddler, and he's really good, but I've seen him. I basically saw him do that whole yell thing when he's in jail, and Pattinson's calling him like a freak and stuff, and he's like yelling, no. I mean, I saw him give that exact same performance in There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
So he's great in the role. He's really, I don't want to take anything away from the guy because he is a very good actor, but that was just a great casting decision to put him as this version of Riddler. And they had a million different ways they could have gone with Riddler, because traditionally what we've seen is a much more comedic, eccentric character, and not
Jim Carrey,
not an absolute psychopath.
And I don't want to see this in the DCEU at all. The new one coming up, like
no, and they seem content to not that it doesn't fit that, but that it's one of their properties that is actually still making money, and so fortunately they did greenlight Part 2, because Warner Brothers is just a hot mess right now.
They are. They got so much. Like,
they drove Nolan away, and they're getting ready to drive away Villeneuve after he's done with the Dune movies. I don't think he's going to stick around with the studio.
Yeah,
because they've just been pushing this stuff right into streaming and not giving it a theatrical. I knew the game was up when Nolan said, "I've got to find a new studio." Like I knew right then and there was bigger issues at work than just the dumpster fire that's DC, and they've got problems. Hopefully they get rectified, because Warner Brothers was always one of my favorite, if not my favorite studio.
I mean, they're doing a lot more.
Yeah,
they're doing a lot more TV. I mean, they've Ted Lasso. They're involved with or doing.
But like all the tax write-off stuff that they just pull right off HBO Max. Yeah. There's back episodes of stuff they don't even let you watch anymore, because in order for them to write it off, they just have to. It can't be distributed anywhere.
Yep.
It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. So yeah, hopefully they get that ship righted, because I love Warner Brothers, but people running it or that were running it, just managed to screw stuff up in like a 2 to 3 year window, like really quickly. So, but back onto the Batman.
Here we go.
Yeah, this is a tangent filled episode of Cinema A to B, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, so I would just say, if you haven't seen it and you like Batman, definitely see it. Don't believe all the hate that it's getting. I mean, you may have a different opinion of it, but from the two of us both enjoying it, I think it's a good, different version of Batman that we haven't seen in a while.
If you've seen David Fincher's Zodiac,
yes,
and you haven't seen the Batman, I think you're going to like the Batman, because it draws a lot from that film. It has good action, but it's more of a horror thriller. Kind of psychological horror thriller.
Yeah, detective show kind of a thing.
Yeah, the detective stuff is pretty well done. Although it kind of suffers from, I always love the whole funny analogy of Raiders of the Lost Ark, that if you take Indiana Jones away, like nothing changes. And there's a certain element there's a little bit of this with Batman. It's like, if you take Batman out of it, would anything really change? But it would. It would, but you definitely don't get an all-powerful take on Batman, and I appreciate that. Like, it did feel like one guy trying to do the vigilante thing, sometimes successfully, sometimes not, and that felt fresh.
Yeah.
Because in every other movie, Batman's already really pretty polished.
And if there's an homage to Ronin, then you're going to make Ben super happy.
Yeah, good flick. I think kind of hurt the fact that it was released in March so early. People forgot about it. Yeah.
And was it R2?
No, it's a very PG-13? Hard PG-13. Gotcha. And my daughter has seen most of the Batman movies. She'll be 6 here soon, and she adores Batman. And I just can't let her watch this one. This one's really, really dark. Very dark. Which I like, but yeah, it's not. This isn't a kids Batman movie. I wouldn't even say Dark Knight is for kids either. With Joker and stuff, a little too crazy. Yeah, right. So yeah, she wants to see this thing, but it's gonna be a while. Yeah, I think that wraps us up. That wraps us up for the Batman. The Batman. That wraps us up for season 1. Oh my goodness. I can't believe season 1's already over. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, I figured 13 episodes a season. We get 4 seasons in a year, calendar year. Although we didn't start this thing till late January, so it won't fall completely right. But that's how we'll do it. And I don't think we're planning on taking any sort of break between seasons right now, the way we've been churning right along. Having too much fun. Yeah, we are. We're having a blast, and we appreciate everybody catching us on YouTube and listening wherever you get podcasts. Hit that subscribe button. Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, you enjoy this, you just need to hit the subscribe button. Yeah. So you can catch when we drop these, which is on Mondays. And thanks again for tuning in. Cinema A to B.
Thanks, everybody.